What's up? What's up? Thomas, today, let me see if my mic's on and everything. But today, I'm about to start switching up the content a little bit. I wanna try to switch this channel more to like basketball talk. You know, I still play 2K, but as far as strictly bills, I want to switch more into talking about basketball, things like that. So I'm hoping some people would join. They drop their NBA opinions, their hot takes, and see what people got to say. Man, I ain't about to say nothing dumb. The only thing that I'll say that some people probably argue it is I think Oklahoma better than most of the teams. Like there's only two teams that I'm seriously worried about playing. Maybe three. There's only two teams, and one of them ain't even that good this season. But you know how they be. The one team, obviously, the Nuggets. That's the only team I'm worried about for Oklahoma. Like seriously. Second team is the Lakers, and the Lakers they turn that shit around at the end of the season all the time. Like last year, they was pretty ass up until the end of the year. That's like another team, and maybe Minnesota. But I'm not really too worried about the Clippers. The Clippers is nice. I'm not too worried about the Clippers. I'm not too worried about the Kings. I'm not too worried about the Mavs. I'm not worried about the Suns. All the other teams, I ain't really worried. I feel like we could work with those teams. It's just Minnesota, they got them 2 7-foot big men. That's going to be tough. Not the Suns, Thomas. The Suns, come on now. Y'all ain't got no defense. Ain't nobody guarding Shai. Ain't nobody guarding Jalen Williams. Chat going to cook y'all too. So I ain't worried about the Suns for real. And the Lakers might mess around and lose themselves. That team they iffy. That man, bro, Jalen Williams be hooping. See, this is why like a lot of people might watch and be like, all right, like he's cool, he could create his own shot, this and that. Jalen Williams, that man is a two-way demon. He plays very good defense. He's also developing as a playmaker. A lot of people don't peep that, but he's developing as a playmaker. And in recent games too, not even just like recent, like last few games, it's been like the last month or two now. At the end of games, they've been letting him close out games. Like obviously it's Shai's team, Shai's gonna close out games. But there's games in the fourth quarter when Shai's on the bench, or even when Shai's in the game, they have Jalen Williams closing out games. Like that man legitimately be closing out games himself. I think next year, Jalen Williams is an all-star or borderline all-star. They probably won't even, he probably still gonna average something like 20 points, 20 to 23 points in that range. So they might finesse him out the All-Star game. He definitely a two-way player, a good two-way player at that. KD gonna get clamped up. But that's the thing with the Suns too. We can match the offense and we're a much better defended team. That's the thing. Like if we play the Suns, all right, you got KD and Devin Booker, but we can match that offense. We can put up the same amount of points. I ain't gonna lie, I low-key kind of been hating the Celtics lately. All the previous years I've been a fan of the Celtics, but every time it comes to the playoffs, they resort, like all season long, they would be top. Like last year, they were top 3 in both offense and defensive rating. They look like the best team, one of the best teams, whatever. They go into the playoffs, and this man Jason Tatum is shooting step backs. They're running ISOs all game. I feel like when it comes down to closing situations, the Celtics just be struggling. I feel like this year is different. You know, you got Porzingis that adds a different element to the game for them. They got post-up opportunities, a different type of player. And Drew Holiday too. Like they're stacked. They're definitely a stacked team and definitely could win it. There's something about that team watching them when it comes down to final minutes. It just, I don't know. Jason Tatum be pissing me off. That team just be pissing me off. It happened last night. We seen it last night when they played the Cavs. They was up 20. The Cavs came back at the end of the game. Jason Tatum, what was it? It was like he ran out the shot clock or whatever, and they ended up losing. That team, I don't know. It's like in final moments of the game, clutch situations, they be selling. And I'm pretty sure last year too, the first half they'd always be good, and the third quarter, I think they was like one of the worst third quarter teams or something like that. Celtics was one of the worst third quarter teams. That shit was terrible watching them last year in the playoffs. When they played, they almost lost to Philly. Like they barely, the teams that they beat last year, they barely won. They like barely beat Philly, almost lost to Philly damn near. Same thing with the Hawks. Like they didn't really look that good in any of those series. But again, this year they got two important pieces that they added to the team. So maybe they go a lot further, do a lot better. But I don't know. Also, I haven't been watching that much this year, so hopefully I'm wrong. But the few games that I did watch, the ones that I did decide to watch, they ended up selling. I low-key think the Nuggets probably gonna win it. I feel like the Lakers a sleepy pick, or maybe even Minnesota. I feel like there's only 2 things that would really like kill Oklahoma in the playoffs. That really to a point where they lose early in the playoffs. I feel like it's only 2 things to really worry about is the rebounding ability. Like they allow a lot of rebounds. and the inexperience. But I feel like the whole inexperience argument may be a little overrated because we've seen teams that were young make it deep in the playoffs. But one thing that does concern me is the rebounding situation. That can be a problem. Another opinion out there too. I feel like Luka should win MVP. A lot of people, I feel like that's not even like a hot take or nothing. I feel like Luka should win MVP. Luka is putting up some ridiculous numbers. Here you go with that. Anthony Edwards better than Shai is crazy. You know, I was just telling Thomas earlier because he was commenting about that. I'll say that, I'll be honest. I'm a little worried about, I told him it's 3 teams that I'm worried about. The Nuggets, the Lakers give us problems, and the Timberwolves could be an issue. But the only team that I'm seriously worried about is the Nuggets. Like, seriously, is the Nuggets. And if we play the Timberwolves, I promise you, Shai gonna drop 30 a night on y'all. If we see y'all in the playoffs, Shai's dropping 30 a night easy. Shai is not better than Shai. Shai's a better defender and a better scorer. Probably even a better playmaker. That man Shai's assists been going up lately too. That man Shai is better in almost every aspect, if not every aspect. Only thing Minnesota really got over Oklahoma is the 2 7-foot big men. Yeah, but nah, Shai definitely better than Ant. It's crazy. That ain't even a conversation for her either. That man Shai is in MVP conversations and ain't even nowhere close to being in that conversation. They don't even mention him in that conversation. I don't think the Suns. I never really hear anybody talk like hype up the Suns like that for real. Like, I don't. If people do, that's crazy because I don't see them really doing much. Like even last year in the playoffs, I told people this. I feel like last year, if the Clippers were healthy, they was beating the Suns. Y'all was getting cooked by Russell Westbrook. That's Devin Booker's defense got exposed crazy last year. That's another thing too. They don't got no defense. Like you can put up all the points you want, you ain't got no defense. This man Devin Booker is getting cooked by Westbrook in the playoffs. After they were saying Westbrook was washed and his career is done, this man was dropping 30-something points on y'all. So I feel like if Paul George and Kawhi were healthy, they was beating the Suns. I feel like ain't much changed for them since last year either. I feel like same thing. It's gonna be the same situation. They gonna get cooked. Bro, now that shit was crazy last year. What Westbrook was doing to them. That was bad. Honestly, I was just talking about the Lakers earlier too. I think that team is iffy. That team is so iffy because they really could make it to the finals and they could be kicked out in the damn play-in. It's like it could really go either way. If they get their shit together, I feel like they, especially the way they've been playing lately, I feel like they could make a run in the playoffs. Like if D'Lo's hooping, if Austin Reeves and Rui start hooping like they was last year in the playoffs, I feel like they go pretty far. And Anthony Davis, bro, I don't know if a lot of people really be talking about him like that, but Anthony Davis, when he's not being a piece of paper and injured all the time and out and all that shit, when he's actually playing, Anthony Davis, I feel like is still one of the best players in the NBA. Like still one of the scariest players to go up against. So I'm just hoping throughout the regular season, they're just kind of coasting or whatever, just playing it light, just trying to make the playoffs. I'm just hoping that's what they're doing. And then once they get to the playoffs, they really start trying and playing. Because we've seen last year they almost made it to the finals. They went to the conference finals and they got beat by the Nuggets. So even last year they had a terrible start and made a run. So I feel like they could do the same thing. Like they could definitely have the defense to compete with other teams. And you got LeBron James on your team and Anthony Davis. So I feel like they definitely got a chance to turn it around. So I'll make my guess on that. Judging by recent play, how they've been playing, especially against good teams recently, I think they at least make it past like the second round. Unless they just losing the play, then that's crazy. But I think they make it past the second round. Plus Anthony Davis, I feel like is the only big man in the West that can give Jokic trouble. I mean, maybe if they play Minnesota, maybe because the reason why the Lakers beat the Nuggets before, the first time when they won that championship in 2020, Jokic had, and he said this himself, Jokic had such a hard time in that series because he was guarded against 2 big men. They had 2 7-foot big men. So I feel like that's what the Timberwolves are doing now. They figured, all right, 2020 Lakers, they had a bunch of 7-foot big men. They had AD 6'10", they had Dwight, who's 6'11", and they had, I think at that time, they had JaVale McGee too, who's 7 feet. So they had a bunch of big men to throw at Jokic, and even Jokic himself admitted that was like hard for him. That was the hardest team he had played in the playoffs because they just had big bodies to throw at him. So I think the Timberwolves are trying to do that same thing with that lineup, even though Cat is not a defender. But he's still tall, big. So I feel like that's what the Wolves are going for. So maybe the Wolves give them a little bit of trouble with that size. But I feel like Anthony Davis is one of, if not the only big man that could really try to contain Jokic. But even then, Jokic just be on some other shit. Y'all seen the shots last year, them step back shots he's hitting. He even did it last night. They lost, but even last night, Jokic was hitting some crazy step backs. It's like he takes a shot and it looks bad, but it goes in. Yeah, as far as the Celtics go, they have the team. They completely have the team to cook, to win to win it all. Celtics definitely got the team. Once it comes to like clutch situations, they fold. Jason Tatum be disappointing me in clutch moments in the fourth quarter. They be disappointing me. We seen it last night. They played the Cavs. They was up 20 and then choked the whole 20-point lead and lost. So like they definitely have the team to do something. Adding Porzingis and Drew Holiday, you definitely got the right pieces, but I feel like it's all a maturity thing and a mental thing with that team, just making the right decisions. But I would hope that this year the Celtics actually do play better and do something. What I've seen in recent years, it's kind of hard because every year I've had hope and then they end up choking. But I do think the Celtics have like the structure and the team to definitely win it all. What I've seen, I don't think they're beating the Nuggets. Even if the Celtics make it all the way to the finals, I don't think they beat the Nuggets. They got the team to. Jokic, he's just a different animal. And Jamal Murray be hooping in the playoffs too. And Michael Porter Jr. be hooping too. That's another thing. When you got a player like that, that's a dangerous player to have on your team. 6'10", small forward that be sparking from three. Like he do be having his bad games or whatever, but he be coming in clutch too. He be having some big shots. That's another person that could spark on that team. My MVP. All right, so I'm gonna give my answer. I'm biased here. I'm biased, so I admit that. Who I genuinely think should win it is Luka. I think Luka deserves it. But if I had to choose, I'm picking Shai. Shai is my MVP. It's my favorite team, Oklahoma. So if I had to choose, I'm going with Shai. Especially because the thing about Luka too is like, I think hands down he's the best offensive player in the league right now. I think he's definitely like should win MVP just because the numbers he's putting up is insane. What he's doing is actually crazy. So I feel like it's an argument for Luka to win MVP. But on the other end, it's just defense. I don't think he holds up at all with Shai in terms of defense. So if we're talking about the two guards there, I don't think he holds up there in that conversation. And like, if you had asked me this a month ago, I'll say hands down Shai. Like a month or two ago, I'll say hands down Shai. But I've been watching a lot of Luka play lately because honestly, I don't really watch the Mavs play that much. Like I've been seeing the crazy numbers Luka puts up. But I've been watching some of their games lately, and Luka is just crazy. That man is something else. So I'll say the numbers he's putting up, I think Luka's MVP. But if I had to choose somebody outside of him, it's definitely Shai. Because Shai is just, his ability, like when I watch Shai, I'm like amazed at the shots that he's hitting. Because it's very few players that you watch and it's just like you're watching, you're like, how are you doing that? Like, damn, that's crazy. Jokic is also one of them players too. Like you watch Jokic, and that's that one-legged step back he be hitting. And you watch that and you're like, damn, like it's amazing. Like, how are you doing that? So Jokic does that same thing for me too. But watching Shai, his defense, his offense, even when they force him to pick up his dribble, that's the most amazing thing to me with Shai too, is when they force him to pick up his dribble and he still creates a shot off that. He still gets a bucket off that. Like that's one of the things I love about Shai's game. Is his ability to score. As of recent too, his playmaking, he's been getting like 8-9 assists in some games, almost 10 assists. So that's another thing too, his playmaking, his ability to pass, especially in clutch moments too when he's closing out games. I really love that about Shai. Now, the Jokic shots though, that shit is insane. When Jokic be hitting them shots is crazy. Like even last night, I think he did that little spin around step back jump shot, smothered, and made it. That's why I think legitimately there could be an argument for all three of those players to be MVP. Like all three of those players are amazing in clutch situations and just in general in scoring. It's like there's no way to stop any one of those three players. There's no way to stop them. But yeah, as of right now, coming playoff time, I think the Nuggets go all the way again. I feel like that's like the safe bet too. I feel like most people say that. I feel like it's the Nuggets. Just because of their scoring, like Jokic's ability to just take over the game, Jamal Murray too. So I think they got a good team there, and one of the more experienced teams too. That's another thing is the Nuggets. They're a very experienced team. They've been together for a while, so I feel like they're probably the favorites to win it all. Like I could see the Wolves doing something, but I could also see them folding in like clutch situations and big situations. I can see that team folding. And then for Oklahoma, there's a few things that worry me. That's my favorite team, so I'm just gonna talk about them a little bit. A few things that worry me is the rebounding situations. The age thing can be a problem. We've seen young teams like make it far in the playoffs before, but I think the age thing can be a problem. The inexperience. But either way it goes, I feel like as long as we make it past the first round, second round even, I'm cool with that. That's a good step from last year. Last year, you almost made the playoffs. You fought in the play and you didn't quite make it. This year you make the playoffs. You're one of the best teams in the West. And if we make it past the second round, I'm cool with that. I'm happy with that. It's still a very young team too. So I'm cool with that. I think that team has like a very bright future. You got a lot of young talent on that team. And it's crazy because the young talent don't just stop at Shai and Jalen Williams and Chet. It don't stop there. It goes beyond that. Now, I'm not saying like the bench players are all-stars, but they're very good role players. Very good role players on that team. Yeah, the thing with Chet though is like it doesn't seem like he really be going for rebounds. I feel like it's the way they run their defense too, because sometimes they'll run a zone and Chet's not really in the paint. Sometimes it's like Jalen Williams running down there for the boards or Shai. Like it's like I'm pretty sure Mark Daigneault said this himself too. With the team, he said nobody has like a job basically. Like everybody's doing everything. So it's not like, oh, one guy you grab the boards, this guy does that. He's like everybody kind of does a little bit of everything. So maybe that's the reason for Chet's rebounds not being so high. But lately, he has been getting more boards lately. He's been getting kind of like close to 8 a little bit around there. He's been grabbing a little bit more. Against like a serious rebounding team, we're going to get killed. Like Nurkic the other night had 31 boards. But I did see Mark Daigneault responded to that whole thing. Because people were saying like, oh, do you feel like you need to change or whatever? Like the rebounding situation isn't an issue. And he came out with this quote. I don't remember what the quote was, but he did say like basically you can't be a perfect team. Nobody's a perfect team. We're all gonna have flaws. So he said he's okay with the lack of rebounding. He's fine with that as long as they excel in other areas. I'm just hoping like we don't get in the playoffs and the other team's getting like 10, 15 second chance points off of offensive rebounds. I'm just hoping that's not happening. But I think Oklahoma definitely does have the defense and the offense to compete in the playoffs. It's just the rebounding situation does worry me a little bit. But I think there is only a few teams that really give us a problem in the playoffs. The only teams I really think seriously give us the issue is the Lakers because of Anthony Davis and LeBron, of course. I think the Lakers would be a tough matchup for us. The Wolves could be a tough matchup too. But I think it'll be a fight if we play the Wolves in the playoffs. But I feel like we come out on top. I could be biased there, but I feel like we beat that team. The Clippers, I feel like we're beating the Clippers. And the Nuggets, I don't think we beat the Nuggets. Like the Wolves, I think we got a good chance. We play the Nuggets, I don't know. I don't think we're beating that. That's a tough team to beat right there. But every other team, I feel like we have a legitimate shot at beating. Honestly, we did all this talking about the playoffs too. And you know what team we didn't mention, or at least I didn't mention or wasn't talked about? Because we just jumped straight to the Celtics in the East. I didn't even talk about the East that much. But I'll give my opinions on the East. I think we didn't talk about Philly at all. I think Philly's actually, I know every year, and this is like a reoccurring theme with Philly. It's not always every year, but since Ben Simmons has been there when he first got drafted, they've always looked very good in the regular season. And then come playoff time, they end up selling. Like I've seen that before. Come playoff time, they always get beat by the Celtics, so they just end up selling. But I think Philly this year is a legitimate threat. If Joel Embiid comes back healthy and he's playing the way he's supposed to be playing, or playing like he did in the regular season before he got injured, if Joel Embiid comes back hooping like that, I think Philly's a dangerous team. So Philly could be a dangerous team. I want to say Milwaukee, they got no defense for real. It's like they're going to have to rely on that offense. Maybe Dame turns it up in the playoffs because I know Dame hasn't looked like the Dame we've seen in previous years. But I feel like he still has the ability to turn up in the playoffs and go crazy. So if we do see that, I think we could see the Bucks maybe do something. But that's like my top 3 teams in the East right there. I'll say Milwaukee, Philly, and of course the Celtics. I hope at some point too, I'm really hoping at some point the Spurs become good enough to like make it to the playoffs and compete. Because I really do. I think there'd be a rivalry between Chet and Wemby. That would be cool to see them play in the playoffs. My rookie of the year was Chet. I was saying Chet, I feel like he just was the better player. But as a recent, after All-Star break, I think it's clearly Wemby. I think Wemby like takes that, no questions asked. I don't really think there's much of an argument for Chet anymore. I think Wemby's looking crazy. So I'm hoping at some point we get to see like some crazy matchups like that where they're going head to head in the playoffs. I feel like that's like peak basketball right there. But man, that boy Wemby is different. Like that man Wemby, he really crazy. Alright, y'all, I was about to keep the stream going. We've been streaming for about an hour. I'm gonna hop off, go shower, get some food. I might stream a little bit later, or most definitely tomorrow. Let me see what tomorrow is. Tomorrow's Thursday, so I'll most likely stream Thursday. Maybe start up these NBA talks again, or maybe just run some 2K. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream there. Thank y'all for watching.